Hey, how's it going? This is Melinda and welcome to my channel. So today I am working on making a video that has been a long time request by many of my viewers. A lot of people have wanted a tour of my vinyl collection. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be putting it together. I'm doing part 1 today. I will do part 2 as well. But this is going to be my box sets, my audiophile pressings, my jazz collection, my singles box sets, and it's also going to be the bands and the artists that I have the most records of. You know, think the Beatles, think Van Halen, the Rolling Stones, those top bands, some of my personal favorites that I happen to have a lot in the collection, because that's I keep those records separately. You know, I have a little bit, you probably wonder, she doesn't make sense when it comes to organizing her collection. You know, part of me just thinks I ought to start all over and just put everything in alphabetical order and just combine all of the different genres. But right now I have them all separate. And there's a little method to my madness that might not make sense to you, but makes a lot of sense to me. So let's go ahead and get on with the tour. If you have any questions, if you see something that interests you, please leave a comment. You can ask the question. Obviously, I can't show every single record that I own. I wish I could. Let's go ahead and get started with my Analog Productions UHQRs. And here are my craft recording small batch records. They're harder to see, so this is Miles Davis, Relaxin' with the Miles Davis Quintet. The Vince Guaraldi Trio. My personal favorite, Yusef Lateef, Eastern Sounds. Thelonious Monk, Brilliant Corners. And here are my Mobile Fidelity One Steps. And I was a little late to the game, so unfortunately I don't have Santana Abraxas or Donald Fagen or some of those really early ones, but I do have a nice size collection and I love listening to them, enjoy them very much. So many great ones, Michael Jackson. There's Yes, Fragile, Van Halen, my goodness, love it. Blood, Sweat, and Tears is another absolutely beautiful one. I really do enjoy my Mobile Fidelity One Steps. And then we move on to the next shelf. It's what I like about this, it's the Acoustic Sound series, the Impulse label, a lot of great records here. What's really cool about this is I just love the way it looks when I put them all together on the bookshelf. I think it makes a really cool presentation. I tried to do that also with these Tone Poets, the Blue Note Tone Poets. Don't really love the effect of those as well. I might eventually just put them in with the rest of my jazz collection. And I have my Analog Productions titles all together as well, starting with the Beach Boys. Here's Pet Sounds. I have Surfer Girl, that's also a phenomenal sounding record. Here's one of the latest that I've picked up and it sounds incredible. Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare. Also really enjoy my Doors collection, love those. There's Duke Ellington and Billie Holiday, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Dean Martin. Moving into Linda Ronstadt. One of the best sounding analog production rock records I have is this Ted Nugent. 45 RPM of Stranglehold is to die for. It is one of those records I always put on when testing stereo equipment. Also, we have great Dusty in Memphis. It's got a little bit of a funny album sleeve cover that makes it harder to see, but that is also a very good album. And then that moves us into, if you see the colored tabs on the labels, these are my Mobile Fidelity records. Admittedly, I own a lot of them, and I love them. They're really great records. I have some of the Beatles versions. I have Jeff Beck Truth. Here's a little bit of a tricky one. Boston, that's really a cool one to own. It's a little harder to get. There's the Cars. I like this one. This is my Chicago Transit Authority Mobile Fidelity record. Going into Eric Clapton's Slow Hand. That one's also really good. I have a lot of the old ones as well as the new ones. And here's the titles like Elvis Costello, Miles Davis. I have nearly all of the Miles Davis records from Mobile Fidelity. I just like the way they sound and think they're great. I thought that would be a great way to own the Miles Davis records, the Dire Straits. I have a lot of Bob Dylan's. I'm missing a couple, but I really enjoy them. And yes, I'm very guilty of having multiple copies. Like this one, I have the mono and I have the stereo of Bringing It All Back Home. That's one of my favorite Bob Dylan records, and yeah, I fell into the trap a little bit, but I have no regrets. Desire's one of my favorites, so I have 2 copies of that. Times they are changing. I've got a stereo and mono and an early 80s pressing of that one. Moving into Bill Evans, Donald Fagen, Foghat Foreigner, Hall & Oates, Huey Lewis, one of my sentimental favorite records from when I was young. Here it is, really cool. This is also a favorite of mine, this Billy Joel Greatest Hits. A really nice box, really nice presentation. Alison Krauss, Los Lobos. The Stranger by Billy Joel. Really love all of these records. That brings me to the end of my Mobile Fidelity, the final shelf. Of course, I have Stevie Nicks' Belladonna, Olivia Newton-John, Linda Ronstadt, Heart Like a Wheel, Run DMC, Simon and Garfunkel, Rod Stewart, Twisted Sister, Vanilla Fudge. Really love all these records. It ends with the Warren Zevon records and moves on to my regular jazz collection. Love Chet Baker. Have a couple of really cool. Here's just an unusual, really great sounding one from Sam's Records. Moving into Art Blakey. A lot of the older Dave Brubeck records are a great value. They're usually not very expensive, so I like picking those up. I also love the Alice Coltrane, John Coltrane records, Chick Corea. Then I have some original and early pressings of Miles Davis records, including a very cool first pressing of Birth of the Cool. Next shelf with more of my jazz collection. Moving into Eric Dolphy, Bill Evans. Right in through here are some of my Red Garland records that I really love. He's one of my favorites. Gets Gilberto, Billie Holiday, a big classic, Freddie Hubbard, Red Clay. I love the Jazz Detective records. Those are my Ahmad Jamal records that are so fantastic. Going into the Charles Mingus, Wes Montgomery. The Right Touch by Duke Pearson. Love Duke Pearson. And on this bottom shelf, Horace Parlan. Love this. This is my one and only. It is, oh, I've even forgotten the name of what these are called. Those fancy, I'll put it at the bottom what they're called, but they're extremely nice jazz records. And here is one that I did not put with those other Impulse series. It's Sonny Rollins' Alfie. This is from the Elemental Music label. So because it's a different label, I kept it separate. And that moves into the final part of my jazz collection. And that moves me into a couple of John Coltrane box sets. The Royal Ballet from Analog Productions. One of a few Garth Brooks box sets that I own. Thelonious Monk. I love this one. This is the complete Riverside recordings. And this is my Mobile Fidelity version of the Rolling Stones box set from probably the late 70s or early 80s. It's one of the crown jewels of my collection. I love having that one. And that moves us into some box sets that I want to show. Ozzy Osbourne, See You on the Other Side. Absolutely love that box set. Here is a Rolling Stones 63 through 66. Those are 7-inch singles. My Beatles in mono box set. I actually found that at an antique store, you guys, many years ago. I don't find those kind of deals anymore. This one is my latest and greatest, and I absolutely love it. The Rolling Stones 1966 through 1971. You guys, when it comes to singles and the hits of the Rolling Stones, this one sounds absolutely amazing, and it has their biggest hits. I will leave a link below in case you're interested to find out all the details about it. It is so incredible. This one is wonderful. I just love the artwork of this one. I think it looks really pretty on display. It's U2's The Joshua Tree box set. So I really love those. Here are the Beatles. This one is a Japanese box set. I kept it because they're all stereo. They're all from the analog tapes. I don't have any of the more recent stereo versions. So I like having that. It's not my best sounding versions of the albums, but I do enjoy having that collection. These are not records. This is actually lithographs. I just keep them with my Beatles collection in the hopes that someday if I ever have a music room, I can use some of these pictures. Let me back that up here a little bit so they stay in focus. Just really great pictures that would be great as, be able to frame and put on the wall. This was a limited edition box set of these pictures. I paid $6 for it on clearance. So for now, they are still sealed. This is my Beatles EP collection. This is red vinyl. They're really cool and sound great. Here's that Beatles singles collection that came out a few years ago, as well as Creedence Clearwater Revival singles. I have a really cool Kiss box set that are singles, probably my favorite box. I love the design of that. I also have the Van Halen singles box. I have the red vinyl version, and above this is a Rush box I've just got up here for safekeeping. It had the record moving pictures as well as a t-shirt, so I just like having that one on display. And I just want to show you this. When it comes to bookshelves, my husband anchored these to the wall for added protection so that they are less likely to collapse. I think that's very important. I wanted to mention that. Now we can move on to the next shelf down. This is going to be my Beatles collection. Probably my Beatles, no, it's not probably, it is my biggest collection, and I've even let go of some things here. Here are my anthology records. This is an anthology sampler, promotional sampler that was a little harder to find back in the day. The number ones. Here are my greatest hits compilations. Here's one of my Abbey Roads. I have several copies. I love this Beatles box set. It was one of the first VCLTs given to me from Steve, Harmless Rebel. It's a UK version. It sounds really good and I enjoy. There's my mono Beatles for sale. Here is Hard Day's Night. I do have a lot of the American pressings as well as some of the UK. Let It Be, Let It Be Naked, the Love album. Here are just some of those common compilations that are really nice to have though. Some Sgt. Pepper's. I do have a UK first pressing. Here are my two Beatles Butcher, Second State Butcher covers. I found them, and one at an antique store, one of them at a record store, and they were well below anything I could have ever imagined paying. This is a Clash box set that I have. This was a $40 find. It still had shrink wrap. The shrink wrap was a little messed up on it, but everything was still sealed. I could not believe I found that for $40. Here's my Bob Dylan records. Other than the mobile Fidelities, of course, I have what a lot of people would have. I have a really cool version. This is a first pressing of Blonde on Blonde. Of course, the greatest hits. Mine does have the poster. I would love to frame it someday. I also have nice copies of Highway 61 Revisited, the bootleg series, Triplicate, a lot of great stuff there. Moving into Kiss. I love my Kiss collection. I don't have a lot of rare Kiss records. This double platinum's a little hard to find. I have an unusual Creatures of the Night from the 80s where they changed the album cover. I have the newer version and a really raggedy looking copy that I bought very early on when I started collecting. And I love the Elder, have a lot of great Kiss records. This one is one of my prized possessions. If anything's rare, it is Kiss Symphony. A very nice copy of that. And then moves on to my Led Zeppelins. And I do have 2 versions of the Robert Ludwig hot mixes. One is in a little bit better condition than the others, but they both play very well. Physical Graffiti, I have 3 copies of that. Led Zeppelin box sets. Here's my Madonna 50 #1s. Thank you, Mazzy. That was a gift. And that moves me into Paul McCartney, and I have a lot of Paul McCartney stuff, great records. Here is an old 70s picture disc. I believe Mazzy gave that to me as well. This is a great one, the 25th anniversary of Band on the Run. And a great sounding half-speed mastered version. You know, I have a still sealed copy of Kisses on the bottom. I have a CD of that, so when I want to listen to it, I just tend to go there because, to be honest with you, I don't listen to that record all that often. More McCartney, Ocean's Kingdom here. A 12-inch single of Temporary Secretary, Tug of War. Just absolutely great stuff by Paul McCartney, my favorite solo artist. And also, here are my Ozzy Osbourne record collection, and they are from the box set. I probably have 1 or 2 that are not from that box set, but most of them are from the box set. I just keep them out to keep them handy. And then I have my wonderful Tom Petty records. Here is a 12-inch single for Learning to Fly. You know, Wildflowers. This one's very cool to me and very special because it's live records. I love listening to Tom Petty live. I think he's just one of those great artists that sound incredible live. And he wrote a song named Melinda, and this is the only way you can get it on vinyl is to have this box set. It's not something that's very well known, but I knew about it and I wanted to have it. This moves on to my Pink Floyd collection. This is an Animals 2018 remix box set that's very cool. This is my pride and joy of my Pink Floyd collection, the 30th anniversary Dark Side of the Moon. That sounds absolutely amazing. Pulse. I have a couple of copies of The Wall that when I put them together make a good copy of The Wall, if you understand what I mean, condition-wise. That moves me down to, here are some Police records. These were from Record Store Day. They're very cool live albums. Thank you, Mike from Nebraska, for helping me with these. They're very cool. And I also have the box set of the Police. And I'll be honest with you, I think the original records sound better. I have the original of Ghost in the Machine. I think it sounds better. So the Police box set's still cool to have though. And here's my Prince records. Love my original of Physical Graffiti, not Physical Graffiti, I'm sorry, Graffiti Bridge. You all know why I made that error. And I have an original of Sign of the Times and Purple Rain. Love 1999. And you're probably wondering, what are these just plain white boxes? These are the Dick Clark National Music Surveys. They came out in the early 80s. They're very inexpensive. I just don't see them very often, but when I do, I buy them. My sister and I listened to the Dick Clark National Music Surveys every Sunday night. When it was time to go to bed, we'd turn it on and listen. So we had Casey Kasem on Sunday mornings, Dick Clark at night. Really great memories, and I still remember some of those broadcasts. There's my Queen box set. Going into my Rolling Stones records, there's Honk. It's a 4 LP set on different colored vinyl. I have a lot of those live official records that are kind of like bootlegs of different performances. Really cool. There's my Satanic Majesty's Request I got from Record Store Day. And here we move into Van Halen, and I do have the Chris Bellman, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. The Van Halen, the first one, is by Chris Bellman. The Sammy years are Bernie Grundman. I also have Right Here, Right Now, Tokyo Dome, and in between that are all of their studio records. And here are some really cool bootlegs that I have for Van Halen. Thank you again, Mike from Nebraska, for sending that one my way. And then we move into the Zombies with some really cool different copies I have of my favorite album of all time, Odyssey and Oracle. There's the Beach Boys, Beach House. Thank you, Mike, from Mike's Got the Spins. That was a VCLT. I love the Bob Dylan original recordings box set. Elvis, another Garth Brooks. A little out of order here, I probably need to correct that. Clapton, complete Clapton. I got that as a Record Store Day box set. Bill Evans' Riverside recordings from Analog Productions. I'm so grateful that he went ahead and pressed those again for people like me. I really appreciate it. Maroon 5, Mozart. There's the Police box, it's empty. Linda Ronstadt, Sade, and 2 boxes of the Rolling Stones in mono. One of them is the colored vinyl version and the other is black vinyl. They both are fantastic. And that concludes this part of the tour. Please watch my other video because I'm going to be showing all the rest of my collection. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.